Hello, and welcome back to the HN College Football Show. This is our probably most anticipated episode of the year that is not rivalry week or conference championship week. I'm Ryan, that's Jhett, and we are joined by Patrick of the Student Media Poll, correct?
You know it.
All right, Patrick, rocking the Reds. Jhett has already been all over them with Red stuff. They're playing today, right now?
Playing right now. Playing the Minnesota Twins.
Minnesota Twins. Beat them by 7 runs yesterday.
Yeah, we got hammered yesterday, but today we bounced back. I don't know. We got to make it in the playoffs. I'll be furious if we don't.
Okay, so, fellas, first of all, we want to welcome on Patrick. I remember telling Patrick at the end of the OSU-IU game, we saw each other in the concourse. I'm like, do you want to come on? Do you want to come on, talk some ball? And indeed, he does, and he is here right now. Well, first of all, Patrick, since you are the face that runs the place of the Student Media Poll, run us through your top 25 and tell us if there's any outliers than the actual AP poll.
Well, let's go. I'll give you my personal rankings right now. If you insist, if you really would like for me to, well, I might as well pull up the spreadsheet that I keep track of it in. So, yeah, right now I'm boring because I've still got Georgia 1, even though they haven't been a particularly impressive one, and they certainly struggled last week with South Carolina. And I've got Michigan 2 as well, just a little chalk there. And I get some people want to say, all right, Georgia and Michigan have struggled. They haven't looked awesome, but they're getting the job done. They're doing what they have to do. And the fact of the matter is, these were the 2 best teams in the country last season.
Just win, baby. Just win, baby.
Exactly. They bring back a lot of talent. I think they're well coached. I think that they're disciplined. And it's just going to take a little bit of time for them to get the rust off. I don't think these teams are as good as they were last year. They're still great. And I really do believe that at the end of the day, this college football playoff race, as we speak right now, sure, it's only week 3. It's wide open. It's absolutely wide open. And I don't think either of these teams are total frontrunners. They're number 1 and 2 for me right now. But I could see it being completely different in 2 weeks' time, or even next week, for all we know. I've got USC 3 right now.
Okay.
Love the offense. The defense leaves me with a lot of questions. I've actually got Notre Dame 4.
Love it.
Notre Dame 4, just have been impressed by them a lot more than Ohio State.
Agreed.
And we'll talk about that later. But right now, I think this Notre Dame offensive line and run game are smash-mouth football, the kind of football that beats teams like Ohio State, who I don't think are very tough. Washington's in the 5 spot for me. Talk about high-flying offenses. We've seen it with Michael Penix these last few years, both at Indiana and at Washington now. They're in the 5 spot for me. I've got Penn State 6.
Okay, I like that.
Ohio State 7. Florida State 8. I really docked them for that Boston College game.
See, we both called a mulligan for Florida State, saying that they could have that one after the red bandana game.
Yeah, I didn't mind it.
I don't hate that. I don't hate that.
I do think I saw a very interesting tweet. If that type of game happened to like an Ohio State or something like that, we would be persecuting Ryan Day on podcasts, on television. Ryan Day would be, well, Ryan Day's not the guy. Ryan Day can't win. So I think, looking back at what we had said about it, it was kind of like, well, we got to be like that the rest of the year with a lot of different teams than if they go on the road and are struggling against in-conference opponents. But that was just an interesting tweet that I had seen.
No, and I agree with that. The level of scrutiny that Ohio State is held to compared to any team in the country is completely different. Who's an equivalent of BC in the Big Ten? Is it Indiana?
Probably Indiana.
Probably like a Rutgers. Or
sure. Someone like that. Or on the flip side, for Georgia this week against South Carolina, who's the equivalent in the Big Ten of that? Is that, I don't know, pick a 6-6 team in the Big Ten.
I would probably say, oh boy,
like
Illinois.
Yeah.
Illinois. If Ohio State hosted Illinois and was down by 2 scores at the half and had to come back and scrap their way to a win, what would we be saying about the Buckeyes?
Yeah, a lot.
Think about it from that perspective. Yep. And even when they got a 3-touchdown win against Indiana week 1, and it wasn't an impressive one, we still said, all right, this Ohio State team's not very good. There was a huge outcry against them, and both from inside their fan base and outside their fan base. It's fascinating the level of scrutiny that they're held to when similar teams like a Georgia, like a Florida State, like a Michigan or Notre Dame even, are just not held to that level of scrutiny.
And I feel like with Kyle McCord playing so bad against IU, that kind of fed into a lot of it. But he settled in, had a really good game against Western Kentucky, a game that I had Western Kentucky covering, and they sure as heck did not. So Ohio State has looked better after a pretty bad performance against IU, and they're going to have a good chance to to show their stripes this Saturday. Anything out of the ordinary on your poll before we get into the games?
Yeah, well, it's a whole lot of Pac-12 teams in this rankings. Obviously, I talked about USC, I talked about Washington, but then just there outside the top 10, rounding it out, got Oregon, Utah, Oregon State, all in the mix. For the last season of the Pac-12, we are getting a really, really good one. So
bright
much
future
fun
for the
football.
conference. Really bright future.
Going out with a bang.
I just want to wake up one day and just be like, hey, this conference realignment thing's over. Just
it
go
was
back
all
to
a
normal.
dream.
I wish that would happen. But where do you have Colorado?
Right now, I have Colorado slotting in just behind Oklahoma and just one spot ahead of, I believe, UCLA. Right now, I have the Buffs at 17.
Okay.
Which I think is fair.
Mm-hmm.
I
think they're good. They're definitely good. They're talented for sure. They're exciting. They're fun, first and foremost. They're really fun. But that Colorado State game left me with some questions, left me with some concerns. Obviously, it was a very emotional game, and I don't think you can fault them too much for going to overtime in it, but they still went to overtime with a team who they should have beaten by a whole lot.
All right. Shall we get into these games?
I'm with it.
Should we go in order of the games being played? Should we start with the noon slate and then go down, or should we just start with the emotional ties?
I mean, we can go down the list here.
I say we finish with Ohio State, Notre Dame.
Let's
With
do
that
that.
being said, let's start with Rutgers and Michigan at noon on Big Ten Network. Oh boy, Rutgers coming in 3-0, 3-0. Already with a conference win, they knocked off Northwestern on Sunday of Week 1. Michigan did not look very good on Saturday against Bowling Green. JJ throwing 3 picks. Rutgers coming in with Kyle Monangai, their leading rusher, with 357 and 5 touchdowns. Gavin Wimsatt from where, Jhett?
Owensboro, Kentucky, baby.
Owensboro,
representing
Kentucky.
the 2-7-0.
And last time Rutgers played Michigan as 3-0 in the Big House, Rutgers took Michigan to the very edge.
Gave him absolute hell.
Gave them, yeah, absolutely. And I think this game could be more of the same. I think this will be a big test for Michigan. The Michigan defense, I'll say. Michigan comes in as a 24-point favorite with the line set at 44 points. Gentlemen, what do you think about this game?
I think that this game is going to be a blowout. Michigan's going to win this game by a lot. Like, you always overhype all the competition every week.
I would not say overhype.
You overhype the competition every week.
It's a Big Ten game.
But it's in Michigan, and it's like this game's not going to be close. Michigan's going to win. I will say this: J.J. McCarthy throwing 3 interceptions against Bowling Green is definitely maybe you are, maybe you're not, but that's a bit of a game 3 of the season. That's a bit of a question mark. That's a bit of a concern, I think. So I'm curious to see how the Michigan team does kind of the rest of the way, but this week I'm really not concerned for them to lose this game at all.
Yeah, Michigan's going to win this one by 3 scores, but not by a pretty 3 scores. I think it's going to be ugly. It's going to be scrappy. I think there are going to be a lot of turnovers both ways. That's just the way Rutgers plays. They don't play a pretty brand of football, and they can kind of drag any team into the mud with them. I think this is good for Michigan to play a real team now. And Rutgers isn't great. They are still Rutgers, all due respect. But this is the first legitimate bowl contender, power conference football team that Michigan's going to have played this season. Mm-hmm. They could have ramped it up a little tougher. Like, for all we know, they could have been thrown Penn State this week. But I think the way the schedule stacks up for Michigan is really nice. Obviously, a relatively, if not extremely, cupcakey non-conference. Mm-hmm. And then you ease into conference play with Rutgers before eventually having to go to Happy Valley to play Michigan, or to play Penn State, rather. So I think the way that it stacks up for them is good. Mm-hmm. Lets them ease into conference play and get a lot of wins under the belt, gain some confidence, get the kinks out of their system before they have to go and play some of their true tests.
I think that this game will really show where this offense stands because it's a Big Ten defense, the first game of the year. I remember Michigan's first Big Ten game last year. They looked awful against Maryland for 3.5 quarters until Blake Corum iced it with a big-time touchdown run. JJ threw a couple picks in that game, too. I like Gavin Wimsatt as a Rutgers quarterback. I'm not sure if he's top 7 now. I know our top 7s might have changed after, Talia, as Jhett likes to say, because
that's how you say his name.
Whatever. So after Talia's performance and Hudson Card and Drew Aller moving all over the place, and I just think that Michigan will get it done. I think they'll pull ahead late. I think it'll be a lot like that Maryland game. And Rutgers actually led Michigan at the half last year in Piscataway, so I think that it'll be tough, and I think this will be a big game for the running game to really show that they did not skip a beat with those 2 injuries they're coming off of. Donovan Edwards still looks a little bit rough after that one tendon he tore in his leg. Blake Corum obviously with the ACL, so I like Michigan. I think Rutgers does cover the 24 though.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they'll cover. Michigan hasn't covered yet this year, have they?
No, that's all right. You got to win. Just got to win.
Good
Next
teams
game.
win, great teams cover. But
next game, the number 4 team in the country, the Florida State Seminoles, head down to Clemson, South Carolina to take on the Tigers. And boy, the narrative of this game has drifted since the preseason. Clemson has looked like absolute dog water. Florida State they're my national championship pick as of right now.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
And I think Florida State, I would have voted Florida State won this week.
After the Boston College game.
Not after the BC game. Not after the BC game.
That kind.
I'm telling you right now, it is the red bandana game, and there is no reason for alarm for Florida State. And I think Clemson, I had this game as one of the best games for the entire season. Clemson looked really bad against Duke, and I feel like coming into the season, I had this game being a game for Clemson to settle in and assert their dominance back in the ACC. I think that Florida State is going to put a toll on this team. They're 2.5 favorites. Over-unders at 55.
I could really see, and I don't know what it is, but I can just see Clemson just coming out and winning this game like big time. Being at home, I just feel like this could be a type of game where Clemson redeems the entire season because, like you said, Clemson has not looked very good this year. This is a game right now. If you come out and you win this game by 2 touchdowns, people start to talk about you a little bit more again.
And that's where it gets tricky for Florida State. They have to win this game to stay in the race for the ACC championship and the playoff. It really gets tricky when you have a team like Florida State in the weakest Power 5 conference with 1 loss. That'll stack up against a potentially undefeated Notre Dame, a 1-loss Pac-12 champion. So this is a big-time game for both of these teams. And I mean, if Clemson runs the table and wins the ACC, they're back in the conversation. But at 2 losses, they are donezo. Yeah. So this is a big-time game. Jordan Travis, I think, for what it is worth, they gave the Clemson defense gave Riley Leonard fits for a little bit, minus that huge touchdown run. But can Jordan Travis really show his elite stripes and pull off, a good win against let's be honest, Clemson is a good team in a very, very tough setting. Patrick, I want to hear your thoughts on this.
Clemson, I am going to say I'm out for good. Not going to say I'm back in ever on this team simply because of that Duke game. If you open your season like that, what does that do? How does that set the tone for the rest of your season? And when you go into a big game like this, I don't care if it's at home, on the road, wherever, how can you be confident in yourselves? How can you tell yourselves as a team, we can do this, we can win, we can hang, we can compete, when you open your season in such a terrible fashion? I just don't trust them. I don't trust the mentality or the mindset of this football team.
And I agree. I mean, Cade Klubnik looked like hot garbage the first game.
Looked like DJ.
He looked like DJ, but without the explosiveness of DJ.
Pre-Oregon State DJ.
He looked like DJ without the pocket presence and the height and the swagger of DJ. And so I think Florida State wins. I think they cover. I'm not sure about this point total though. I'm leaning towards the under because I think it'll be a defensive game. But look for big boy Johnny Wilson out there to get at least 1 touchdown. I like.
I'm going to take the over on this game. I really think this is going to be a very high-scoring game.
What we got to do is you got to manifest the over by taking the under.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Yeah, I like it.
Usually works. That's reverse psychology.
All right. Next game, Oklahoma and Cincinnati. This game has kind of flown under the radar with Oklahoma being terrible last year. Cincinnati coming off a loss to Miami, Ohio. Is Oklahoma legit yet?
I think so. I really like this Oklahoma team. I think 16. It's pretty low. I think that Dylan Gabriel has played just as good as anyone. We talk about Heisman contenders. You talk about Shedeur Sanders, Caleb Williams. You talk about Michael Penix, Sam Hartman. I think Dylan Gabriel should be right there in the mix with all of these guys. He's thrown 905 yards, 11 touchdowns this season. Has thrown an interception. You remember the game last week? I believe he threw 5 touchdowns last week. So this is going to be a game. I think Oklahoma. It's kind of one of those where you're going on the road, first in conference matchup of the season for the Sooners. This is a game here where if you win this by multiple scores, if you go in and just absolutely dominate for 4 quarters, Oklahoma could genuinely be a top 10 team next week, especially with all of the teams, all the highly ranked teams that are playing each other this week. I really think Oklahoma could be a top 10 team in the country next week at this time.
Patrick, what do you got?
I think Cincinnati's just really bad. They might be the worst team in the Big 12, other than Iowa State at this point. And maybe I'm forgetting a team in there as well, but they have not impressed me at all. Let's talk about, by the way, can I give you a couple stats on last week's game against Miami, Ohio? First loss to Miami, Ohio for Cincinnati is an annual game, I think, minus COVID, since 2005.
Okay.
2005.
Not good.
Long time. The other thing with this Cincinnati team, not only did they get tested by a Miami, Ohio team that's in the MAC and is decent for a MAC team, but they lost this rivalry game they hadn't lost really in a generation. And they also gave Miami, Ohio their first overtime win ever.
Ever?
Ever.
That's nuts.
Ever.
That's nuts.
But let this be a lesson.
Cincinnati.
Nobody beats the Miami Redhawks 18 times in a row. Nobody.
I'll say this. I think Cincinnati could come out and win this game, but it'll take a lot. And my boy Andrell Anthony is going to have a field day, I think. And I think Oklahoma wins and covers the 14.5.
Agreed.
I think that Cincinnati, if they want to win this game, they have to be absolutely perfect in every aspect of the game. And even then, I don't think it's enough to beat this Oklahoma team.
It's going to be an awesome atmosphere. Nippert's a cool place.
It's first Big 12 game ever for Cincinnati as well. So I think it'll be rocking.
Rutgers' first Big Ten game ever they played Michigan and they beat them. So
that's true. Hey, that's a great point.
Don't look now.
That was awful. Shout out Gary Nova. I hate you. All right, next game is the Buffs from the University of Colorado. Sorry,
Colorado University.
Colorado University. I don't like that.
It's the University of Colorado, but
that's what I thought.
They do this weird Big 12 thing, historic Big 12, and I guess former future Big 12, whatever. All these Big 12 schools are like insert letter here, U,
like Kansas,
but they're the University of.
Yeah,
like,
it's University of Kansas.
Yeah, but they go by KU. It's not like Indiana University where it's IU because it's Indiana University.
Wait, what?
Yeah, no, it's freaky.
It's so weird.
Actually, a professor of mine, Ben Story, from my digital literacy and composition class, taught by Clemson alum Justin Hodgson. He said that Ben graduated from Kansas and told me that it's actually University of Kansas.
Yeah,
but they say KU. So shout out Ben. Thank you for helping me pass that class. The class was fun. All right, Colorado, Oregon. 3:30 ABC. This will be 12:30 local, and no Travis Hunter, which I think that helps Oregon out a lot. And I'm telling you right now, 70.5 is a lot of points, but give it to me.
I think they
give it to me.
I think they get it.
Give it to me. This is going to be an offensive explosion.
This could be the best game of the day. I think that you lose Travis Hunter, sure, but you still have to cover Xavier Weaver. You still have to stop Donovan Edwards in the run game.
Dylan.
Or, excuse me, sorry, I saw D. Edwards, whatever. You know what I meant.
He didn't even mention Shedeur.
Exactly. That's where I was about to go. And you have to stop Shedeur Sanders, who is arguably the front runner for Heisman right now. This is going to be a very good game. I think Oregon wins this game. Oregon's favored by 21 points right now.
That's a
big number, and I don't like it at all.
Points.
For a Colorado team that's good.
That's a lot of points.
I'm more confident in the under hitting than Oregon covering, if that makes sense. I'm more confident that it'll go under 70, but there's no way Oregon covers that 21. I feel like this offense...
I think they just might.
This offense is lethal. And I feel like a great name, by the way. Jimmy Horn is a big X factor. I love that name, Jimmy Horn Jr. He'll be the X factor here. Xavier Weaver, of course. There's someone I'm forgetting. There's some name that I'm forgetting, but we'll figure it out while you guys talk about this game some more.
I think that Oregon might just cover this. I really do. I was not impressed with the showing from Colorado State, or against Colorado State, rather. I was not impressed at all. I really like Bo Nix. I've been on the Bo Nix, Bucky Irving train for a long time. Troy Franklin has really impressed me this season. I like this Oregon team a lot. I think this is obviously a top 10 team in the country. I could see them being, I'm not mad at people that have them in like their top 7, 8. I really like this Oregon team a lot. I think they're a very good football team, top to bottom. I don't know. This is gonna be such an offensive show out.
Well, this spread I think is absolutely insane. 21 is a ton of points. Oregon's gonna win.
Spread.
Oregon's gonna win. Let's be clear on that. Yes. Oregon's the better team. Oregon's at home. Colorado's without their best player on both sides of the football, who happens to be the same guy, which somehow everybody says is getting burnt into the ground with how much they talk about it. I don't think it's talked about enough.
No,
how Travis Hunter is one of the best players in the country on offense and defense.
I think
Shohei Ohtani, right?
Yeah, I think Travis Hunter is being rather humble about the whole thing too. And he said after the death threats being given to the Colorado State player, his name slips my mind at the moment. He said, it's football. He's going to make that hit like 9 times out of 10. And I think Travis Hunter.
While in a giraffe onesie, by the way.
In the giraffe onesie, I think Travis Hunter is the most likable player.
Seems like a good guy.
The most likable player in the country, and I love him. I love him, and I really wish that he comes back a little bit early because they might need him for USC.
They'll definitely need him for USC. This is an absolutely brutal stretch coming up for Colorado. I mean, taking a look at their upcoming schedule, of course, they go to Eugene to take on Oregon this week. Then it's Southern Cal at home, at Arizona State after that, which Arizona State's not great, but, they've been known in the Pac-12 over the last few years to be that upset team, to have the desert voodoo, as all the Pac-12 teams refer to it as. It's a tough stretch for them. And obviously they've gotten through a pretty good non-conference slate, all things considered. 2 Power 5 opponents, a reigning playoff team, and a big rival in Colorado State. But this conference slate, I think all season long, just in this tough Pac-12, man, this last season, going out with a bang like we said earlier, it's really going to test them. We're going to see what they're made of.
We are absolutely spoiled and blessed to have an amazing Pac-12. And the names I was going to mention before my mic went off the stand for the 3rd consecutive episode, Savion Wilkerson and Tavarish Dawson will be the X Factors alongside Jimmy Horn. I think, all right, let's get some picks. I'll take the over and Colorado to cover the 20.5. Patrick?
I think they cover that as well, and I'll go under, but the Ducks will win it.
Okay.
I'm going to go over, and I'm also I think Oregon covers. I'm going to take Oregon covering, because why not? It's fun.
Okay. I also think Oregon wins. Next game, the University of California, Los Angeles, and the Utah Utes.
This should be a night game. Why is this not a night game?
No idea. This will be a good one. And I'm telling you right now, if this game was not at Rice Eccles, if this was in the Rose Bowl, UCLA would have this game won already. Is there any update on Cameron Rising?
I was going to ask you, actually. Do you know if Cam is playing or not?
I have not seen. I'm under the assumption he won't, but it could go either way. He hasn't played so far, of course. It could go either way. I haven't heard one way or another.
I'm seeing no signs of Cam coming back. It says all these articles are about UCLA preparing for Cam to come back. I bet you he'll be a game time decision, but he'll most likely not play, which sucks because if they can really escape against UCLA, granted, this game being at Rice Eccles really, really helps them out. This will be we're going to see how far Utah can really go without Cam Rising, and if they lose this game, I feel like they're going to need him back instantly, because I think UCLA is in the latter half of the good teams in the Pac-12. So I think Utah wins this game, but it's going to take a lot, especially with Cam not playing. The line's set at 4.5, over under at 52.5. Dante Moore, the freshman who was on my big figures list to start the year, freshman from King, right? He went to King. That's where Sauce Gardner went too. 615 yards, 7 touchdowns, and a pick. Carson Steele, my boy, is the lead back for the Bruins.
Center Grove High School.
From?
Greenwood, Indiana.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Greenwood, Indiana.
Very cool. Oh, Center Grove. I'm an idiot. Sorry. Yeah. When do you guys want to jump in here and talk about this game?
Oh, man. The more that I really wasn't in on this UCLA team, but the more that I watch them, and the more that I look at this team, the more I think that they could go in and win this game. because I don't think Nate Johnson's very good.
He's better than Bryson Barnes, that's for sure.
100%, but that's not saying a whole lot.
Bryson Barnes puts this team, they set this team back 30 years. I'm telling you, he's not it. If they want to win and Cam's not playing, Nate Johnson must play every second of their offensive snaps.
I think that UCLA is going to win this game. I was so much in on Utah winning this football game, but I just talked myself into it. UCLA, first of all, I think UCLA will, even if they lose, I think they cover the 4.5. This is going to be a very close game. Maybe a last-second field goal by Utah or UCLA for that matter, but this is going to be a close game. I think UCLA is going to win. Patrick? I like Dante Moore a lot.
Yeah, I've not been impressed by the Utah offense at all. And UCLA, every time I watch them, they're so much fun. Such a lively team. Yeah. Playing on the road here is tough. But this offense is just a lot of fun. They're young, they're hungry, they're talented. And, you know, the scheme is always going to be interesting with Chip Kelly and his offenses. You kind of talked me into it there. I've got a good feeling on UCLA here.
I just talked myself into it, literally just sitting right here, and I was looking at it, and I thought the only thing I think keeps him from it is if, you know, Dante Moore in his first real road test in a very hostile environment that Rice Eccles will be. Raw. He's still very good, but if he goes in and he throws 350 yards, 4 touchdowns. When are we, you know, does Dante Moore ever enter the Heisman conversation?
No, not as a freshman.
You don't think?
Not as
His
a freshman.
ceiling is very high, but I think he's still too raw.
I was just curious, just throwing it out there.
Not this year. Oh boy, I'm a Utah man, and I love Utah. I've had a very big emotional attachment to this team because I've watched this team win 2 big Pac-12 championships in the city of Indianapolis before attending Michigan's games to win the Big Ten. And I think that I love this team a lot. And I said it in week 1. I said it in our week 1 preview that my entire recommended Twitter page is all Utah stuff. The Utah Fans Podcast, which I have not listened to, but I do follow their account on Twitter, talking a lot about Utah. I love this team a lot, and it's going to be hard for me to pick against this team in Rice Eccles. Hopefully Cam can play, not just for Utah's sake to win the game, just for the game's sake. It'll be a much more fun game if Cam plays. I think Utah wins this game.
Tough stretch coming up for UCLA as well. They've got the Pac-2 after this. They've got Washington State at home.
It's actually the Tupac.
The Tupac, yeah, rest in peace. They've got Washington State at home. Then they go to Corvallis to take on Oregon State.
That'll be a good one.
It will.
All right, next game. The Rebels of the University of Mississippi go down to Tuscaloosa to take on the Crimson Tide. Patrick, I want you to start with this one. What has been your assessment of Alabama so far this year?
Wow, Alabama's looked terrible, haven't they? I really respect Nick Saban for one thing, though, and it's the quarterback thing. Just this whole situation, it's been a mess. You know, how many times every single year in this sport do teams say, or fans of teams say, your quarterback, time to bench the quarterback, time to replace the quarterback, got to do this, got to do this. And then Nick Saban listened and said, okay, we're actually going to do that. We're going to take Milroe out, put in Tyler Buchner like you're all asking for, and then Tyler Buchner looks terrible, and he gets benched too. And now Saban comes back and basically says in this presser, now you see what I'm saying? Jalen Milroe's earned the right to be our quarterback, basically is what he said. And I agree with him, but with that, it's not like Milroe looked particularly good before he got benched, and I don't expect him to get a whole heck of a lot better this week.
Yeah, I'm not a big Ole Miss fan this year. I just think that this will be a classic Ole Miss year, an 8-4 or 9-3, 10-3 type season, and I think that I think Alabama really gets back on track here. I really do. I like Jalen Milroe a lot. I think he's certainly not the best Alabama's ever had, but they're going to have to learn how to work with him. And I feel like with, Tommy Rees, Jhett can say what he wants about him. I can say what he wants about him. But he knows what he's doing, and he's crafted some okay quarterbacks.
Who?
Tommy.
Who's he crafted?
Well, he made Drew Pine look a little bit good last year.
Oh my gosh, stop it.
Made, I feel like he made Ian Book look pretty good. He made Ian Book a college football playoff quarterback.
He was there for the back end of Ian
All right.
Book.
Yeah, I want to hear what you got to say. I want to hear what you got to say about this team.
I think I know I've been just coming with hot takes all day today, and it's not intentional, but
I wouldn't say Ole Miss winning is hot.
I think Ole Miss might win this game, man. I don't know what it is. I like Jackson Dart a lot. I like his swagger. I like his demeanor. I like the way he plays football. I don't like Alabama.
I'll say this
at all.
Jackson Dart is what all Big Ten fans think J.J. McCarthy is. That's what I'll say. The swagger and the play style. Am I wrong, though?
No, they're very similar, I think. They're very similar.
Whatever.
McCarthy's better.
Oh, no, that's what I'm
better,
saying.
yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they treat JJ how Jackson Dart plays and his kind of swagger because his swagger kind of comes off as annoying.
Okay.
But I'm a Michigan fan, and
Fair enough.
I'll say that with pride.
I like Alabama here.
I do too. I just don't buy Ole Miss, and it's in Tuscaloosa. And that was
I'm
nice.
sorry, we're
that
gonna
was
have to edit
nice.
that out. That was
awesome.
I didn't realize that'd be that loud on the mic.
Alabama 7.5 favorites. I don't know if I like that for Alabama. I think they win, but will they cover?
No, I think no matter what, Ole Miss is going to cover this.
I like that.
Feels about right.
I like that. Okay, you got Ole Miss.
I'm taking
Bama,
Ole Miss.
Bama.
Take Tide.
Okay, next game is. Oh boy, gotta scroll down here. Oregon State and Washington State, two teams that are very, very fun. We know how much Jhett loves the Cougs. DJ's looked pretty good. Pretty good. Funny story. DJ actually went to the Oregon game last week, and he sat. So some Oregon fan put on Twitter, was like, "Look who's sitting next to me. It's DJ." He said he's a very well-spoken young man, and that he's very respectable. And I think DJ has found a home for how long he'll be in Corvallis. He's looked pretty good.
Yeah, I think that this is going to be a very good football game. I think that Washington State is going to come out on top. I've been very high on this Washington State team all year long. I've been very high on Cameron Ward. Look, Harrison Mevis, Cameron Ward, Sam Hartman. Those are my three guys right there. Those are my three guys I love more than anyone. I love watching Cameron Ward play football. I think Cameron Ward is better than DJ. I'm just going to say it. I think Cameron Ward's better than DJ, and I'm very excited to watch this matchup. I think Washington State wins. I think Washington State wins by 7. I would give them the 7. Oregon State's favored by 3. I'd give Washington State 7.
I like Wazoo as well. I've been impressed by them all season long, and I think I have a lot of issues with Wisconsin. And if we talk about them, I'll talk about those. But I've made that clear in other platforms, places I've talked. I don't like this Wisconsin team at all. With that being said, the reason I don't like them is because of the flaws that Washington State established with this Wisconsin squad. Mm-hmm. Washington State is that good of a football team, and playing at home in front of a really energized crowd in Pullman, I like Wazoo. I think that this is a team, like you said, with Cam Ward. Too many Cams in the Pac-12.
I agree.
Too many Cams.
Yeah.
Too many Cams.
You guys convinced me. I'll take Washington State too. I think Cam Ward and Nakia Watson are a fairly elite combo. And Oregon State, would it shock me if Oregon State won? Absolutely not. But I think after what Jake Dickert said about we deserve to be in the Power 5 and now being part of the Tupac, I think Washington State makes a splash here. We good in that game?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. For what it's worth, let's talk about USC and Arizona State, who looked absolutely unexplainably bad after they get shut out by Fresno, a team that beat Purdue. Fresno is looking like they can match up with San Jose State in the Mountain West. I mean, they looked really good. And Arizona State, what is going on with Jaden Rashada?
That Arizona State team is not good, man. They're not good. Drew Pine, it's weird to me watching Drew Pine play, and it's like, man, we really won 9 games with this guy last year, It's crazy. But, yeah, I mean, USC should win this game by a boatload. 34.5? Wouldn't be opposed to taking that. Really would not be opposed. That's a lot of points.
Wait, what'd you say? What was the number?
34.5.
Yeah, I like that.
I wouldn't be opposed to that at all.
And it's I believe it is in Tempe.
It's
yes.
in Tempe.
It is in Tempe.
You know how many good Pac-12 teams have struggled in the desert. Every single year it happens. Every single year nobody sees it coming. I'm not saying that's going to happen this time. I think USC is going to win this one comfortably. But don't be surprised if this is like 7-3 after 1.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be close early, and USC will just be the better team the rest of the game and blow them out. But I could see it being a little frisky early on.
I was going to throw that out there, but just how they played Fresno State at home last week, how they played Oklahoma State at home the week before.
Who just lost to South Alabama.
South Alabama's good.
They are good, but Jesus. Oklahoma State, what are you doing? We knew they were going to be bad, so they get a pass. I mean, our takes get a pass. USC big. I'm not even sure what we talked about this game. I like the Kenny Dillingham hire at the time. Not looking too good right now. Okay. a game that I'm really, really, really excited for, and that is Iowa going to Happy Valley to take on Penn State. And if things go to plan, Jake Rothbard will be in studio talking about his experience at the Whiteout, because he'll be in attendance. He's one of our roommates. He's should not be in here, but he wants to come on. The line's set at Penn State minus 15.5. The line is the points is at 40. Brian Ferentz had some comments yesterday or whenever it was.
Oh no!
Saying that need to get out of his. People need to stop getting in his A word. He said, "Just get out of my A word." People need to look at the score and look at me scoring 41 points, even though some of that was his defense. But
was any of that his defense?
Getting a little close to the average. I think they got a safety. They got a safety against Western.
I don't think they scored any defensive touchdowns.
Not a touchdown last week, but they have scored a couple defensive scores. This will be a big-time game for Penn State, I think. This defense does not play around, and I feel like if they can get pressure on Drew Aller, then we can really, really see what he's made of. We talked on Monday about how a competent defense like Illinois getting to Drew Aller is Joe Evans going to be a type of Johnny Newton to kind of game wreck Drew Aller? I'm not sure, but look out for Cooper DeJean and the defensive backfield with Xavier Wunkpa. I think that's a great name.
It's a great name.
I like Penn State to win. I don't like them to cover, though. I think 15's too many. And we know that this game will not be very high scoring. I say this game will be, 20-12. 20-12.
I like that.
I like that, too. That's a weird score. I feel like Iowa is the king of the weird score in college football. Just safeties and missed extra points. Just all this random stuff that gives you a weird number like 12. Feels very Iowa. I'll go 24-14 Penn State here. I think the Iowa defense keeps them in check, but not enough in check given Iowa's offensive ineptitude against decent teams. Last week does not count. I'm not going to let that change my general opinion of Iowa. This is just not a good offensive football team. Sometimes the team is who we think they are, and this is one of those scenarios.
Yep.
Every single season I feel like we come in saying, oh, this is the year Iowa figures it out on offense. They've got this player, and he's going to be awesome. Some people were saying, oh, Spencer Petras a couple years ago. That didn't happen. Oh, Tyler Goodson. How about Tyler Goodson? We've got this great running back now. All right, he was fine, but that wasn't turning into points.
But Iowa is just going to mediocre their way all the way to Indy on the first weekend of December. So
sometimes that's enough in the Big Ten West, isn't it? Yeah.
I want to know what you think about Cade McNamara, because
he's fine.
I know how we stand. He's fine, right?
He is fine.
He's fine.
He's all right.
He's very Iowa-y, and I think that Iowa.
He's not going to lose you a game. He's not going to win you a game. He's not going to lose you one.
He's just
He's all right.
Due to the shown struggles of Wisconsin, I think Iowa is now my pick to take the West, and I picked Luke Fickell to win Coach of the Year, so that's not looking too good. Jhett.
I think that this game could be close. I obviously like Aller a little bit better than McNamara, but look, that game last week against Illinois, the score does not reflect how close of a game that really was.
Yes,
I agree.
30-13 was the final, but that game felt way closer. Even when it was 13-0 at one point, I believe, and it even felt like a close game just because of how poorly Penn State was playing on the offensive side of the ball. Luckily, they were playing Illinois. If there's another bad performance on offense like
Iowa
that
will
this
pounce,
week,
and they will get them where it hurts.
I really think Iowa could keep this game close, if not, especially you go in a whiteout scene and in a road game, you just got to keep it close late and just make that push late in the game. And if they keep it close, I think this will be close. I do think this will be a close game. But I think Penn State will win.
Absolutely. All right. Do we want to talk about Indiana real quick?
We can touch it.
Akron
comes here to Bloomington.
We're talking about the uniforms?
The uniforms are
I like them a lot.
Kiss.
I like them
Chef's
a lot.
kiss.
It's missing an oval. I would love to see the oval logo brought back.
Oh.
Yes.
My
that would
opinion.
be cool.
Not a popular opinion among people who were there for it, because I think a lot of people have bad memories of wasting Antoine Randall and winning 5 games with him. And, whatever. That's its own thing. But I love the oval. I think it's cool. I want that brought back. But these black uniforms are sweet.
I love them.
Big
Super
fan.
cool.
Big
Love
fan.
them.
17 points is the line in favor of the Hoosiers. 46 is the number. I'm telling you right now, I'm going to need to see something from Walt Bell here. David Jackson looked Looked really good against Louisville in the second half.
I was impressed in the second half. Yeah, absolutely.
Really good.
Absolutely impressed.
Got to cover this game even be confident going into Maryland or hosting Rutgers and winning.
Maryland is very fraudulent, though.
Yes, I have been
Maryland
saying that.
is
They look
probably
beatable.
Listen, how many times over the last few years have we talked about September Maryland and Maryland being undefeated in September? Yep. Oh, look out for Maryland.
Yeah.
And then Maryland goes into October and doesn't win a game or goes 6-6, whatever. Maryland is going to be undefeated going into October this year. They also might not make a bowl game. I just do not think this is a good team.
I agree.
Not really much to talk about Akron because they're Akron. Look for these receivers to try and make more of an impact. If the play calling certainly puts them in this game. If Taven hits them, I feel like we saw Taven adjust to the high throws, and I just feel like it's all on the play calling because Taven has adjusted. He's done his job. He's impressed, and I feel like it's really good for him. But well, Bell, it's time to don't be Brian Ferentz. Don't be Brian Ferentz. You gotta win this game by a good hefty margin.
And please don't call a delayed handoff on 4th and goal.
That was
Jesus, man.
Just don't do that. You should be fine.
All right. Nothing really else here in the Big Ten. Wisconsin Purdue on Friday. That's a good game.
Okay.
Can Wisconsin really step back into their own and get back on track going to a bad Purdue team at night?
It's not a bad Purdue team. It's an undisciplined Purdue team. It's an undisciplined Purdue team who scheduled way too hard of a non-conference for no reason.
I agree. I mean,
I was so high on this Purdue team going into the season this year. I thought they could win 8-9 games this year with Hudson Card at the.
I still think they can. It's the Big Ten
100%.
West. It's the Big Ten West.
100%.
At the end of the day, expect the unexpected.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I was kicking around the idea of, do these guys make the Big Ten championship game once again? You know, I don't know. They just haven't really improved. 4-point loss to Fresno State, dominated by Syracuse. It's just, I think Purdue wins this game. I don't know. I'm gonna take Purdue. I'll take Purdue.
I will also take Purdue. I think Wisconsin really just has not looked good. My Phil Longo hype has really, really gone down the toilet. Yeah, that's really it.
Well, with Wisconsin, I'm obviously not in on them this season, and Purdue has looked really undisciplined. I think that's their biggest issue. It's been penalties. It's been poor defensive back play. It's been a lot of stuff like that that's been holding back this Boiler group. But sometimes in college football, you just have to realize certain teams just beat certain teams every single time they play, and you have to go with history. Do you know the streak right now between Purdue and Wisconsin? Do you know the streak?
It's quite a bit. Because I remember the last time Purdue had some expectation. They were ranked. They hosted Wisconsin. They got blown out.
They did. The streak is 16 for Wisconsin. They haven't lost to Purdue since the current year's 2003 in Madison. And they haven't lost in Lafayette to Purdue since 1997.
All right, Wisconsin.
I'm going Wisconsin.
Which is why I'm taking Wisconsin.
Thanks, Patrick.
They haven't beaten them at Ross Stadium since 97.
This is a standalone. This is a standalone good game. You better believe that our eyes will be glued to the TV for this game. Hudson Card lover, it's on. You better not disappoint, Hudson Card. All right, another game we can touch on real quick.
I still think Purdue wins 6. By the way, I'll say that.
Say that again.
Purdue's gonna win 6.
You think they'll win 6?
They're gonna lose this game, but they're gonna win 6. Yeah.
I mean, Jhett had them winning 8.
I had him winning 8 to 9 games this year.
All right, next
really
game.
Disappointing team.
We don't really need to talk too much. Nebraska hosts La Tech, and Minnesota goes to Evanston to take on Northwestern. Maryland goes to East Lansing to take on Michigan State. And are we ready for the big one?
Let's talk about the big one.
Let's go to the big one.
My heart. Ugh. I feel sick.
The Ohio State Buckeyes will make the less than 5-hour trip up to South Bend, Indiana, to take on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish in a game being played at 7:30 on the National Broadcasting Channel. 4-0 versus 4-0. Let's
3-0. Ohio State's 3-0.
4-0 versus 3-0. Jhett, lead us off here.
I feel sick, man. Because here's the thing. Everyone is telling me, you included, Kenny, oh, Notre Dame's going to win this game. Notre Dame's going to win this game. You're good. You're good. But it's like that Brian Kelly era inside of me that can't prepare for a big football game is just, it's just there. And it's not going away. It's like, here's how it is. You know, it's like you get out of a relationship with a girl and she cheated on you. Now you're on to the next girl, and you still have that PTSD a little bit on the inside.
I think that take
Sitting in your
sucks. I think Notre Dame wins this game.
Let me finish.
I really do. No problem they win this game.
I still have a little PTSD from the last girlfriend, okay? I am not sure how this game's going to go. OSU is favored. All I know is Audric Estime is the best running back in college football.
That's just not true.
He said, let me tell you this take.
Let me hear it.
He told me that Audric Estime isn't that he can name 6 running backs in the Big Ten better than Audric Estime.
I don't know about 6, but I can give you
name the 6. Name the 6 you named.
Blake Corum.
Okay.
Nick Singleton.
No.
What?
I'm the biggest Nick Singleton guy in the world that's not a Penn State fan.
Yet.
He's not better than Audric Estime.
He's not better than Estime yet.
All right, a healthy Donovan Edwards is better than Audric Estime.
Wrong.
That could go either way. That could go either way.
Fine.
That could go either way.
You know what? I will say this. I was the first one to admit it. Audric Estime has really surprised me this year. 63 carries,
He's
for
been
520.
He keeps this up. He's going to
Thank that offensive line.
Absolutely.
Thank that
And
offensive
I just
line.
feel like,
For
I mean, I think he'll have a good game. I think that this Ohio State defense has some weak spots, and I think that he could really make some noise. As you saw it last year with the Don, I think that Audric Estime will have a fairly decent game. I think that, well, first, before I give my absolute explosion of takes, Patrick, go ahead.
Yeah, well, first of all, it's crazy how few times these two teams have played each other. For two iconic programs located just a handful of hours from each other in neighboring states, they've only played 7 times ever. Notre Dame's not beaten Ohio State since 1936.
That's ridiculous.
And granted, they didn't play for about 60 years between 36 and 95, but Ohio State's won the last 5 in this series, so that's worth noting. With that being said, Notre Dame's going to win this game.
They do. They are.
Notre Dame's going to win this game.
You guys are giving me too much hope.
No, listen. I think that, first of all, here is why I would like Ohio State to win this game.
This makes no sense.
It makes complete sense. Listen.
Let's go. Let's hear this.
Notre Dame has many opportunities, even if they lose, to go to the playoff. They have 2 games against big-time teams on the road. Clemson, if they look better, that game will be a lot better. They go to Duke, and then they host USC, and then those are all games where they can re-solidify their resume. This is not a conference game for Ohio State, which is exactly why I want them to take Notre Dame to one of their 2 losses to bump them out of the playoff pending a loss against USC or Duke or Clemson. And I'll say this. Ohio State goes into the Big House undefeated and they lose to Michigan. They will not go to the playoff. They will just not. They're not.
You're wrong.
How?
They did it last year after losing at home.
Exactly. If Ohio State goes into Michigan undefeated and they lose, they're still going to make the playoff.
Their fault,
Probably.
It's not their fault for only losing 1 game because there's so many other teams. There will be other teams that will hold their own. I'm telling you right now.
This is a more competitive year than last year was.
Exactly. Yes,
that's true.
I know it's week 4, but there are a lot of teams that show that they can stand tall. A team that I believe will be undefeated and run the table and make the playoff this year. Texas. You have the SEC. You have an undefeated SEC champion, Georgia. That's 1. Michigan or a Big Ten champion.
I don't know if Georgia's going to go undefeated.
Well, hold on a second.
Let's hear it.
I think Michigan will run the table, win the Big Ten. Okay, so Georgia, Michigan, an undefeated Florida State, and then an undefeated Texas. And also if they could get an undefeated Notre Dame. And then an undefeated a Pac-12 champion. That's so much room for
all
Ohio
these
State.
Teams are going to go undefeated. That just doesn't happen.
This is going to simmer out so much.
I think Washington could go undefeated.
A lot of these teams could go
though.
undefeated, and we say this in other seasons. Granted, this is a really competitive year. Not all of these teams are going to go undefeated, though.
Okay.
Teams will lose. It happens every single season.
We're going to
end up with 2, maybe 3 undefeated.
I will tell you this. Ohio State, with a 1 loss, goes into Michigan and loses, puts them at 2 losses.
Mm-hmm. They're done.
That team's not making the playoff.
Oh, yeah, 2 losses, no way.
No.
So then why would you...
No team with 2 losses, no.
So where else does Ohio State get a loss this year?
I think Penn State could shock them.
on the road.
Is that at Penn State?
No, it's in Columbus.
It's at home.
Okay, so then...
Yeah.
The Michigan fan me wants Ohio State to win also.
They went there last year because I was thinking did they go there and play in a whiteout? I forgot that was a noon game last year.
It was the stripe out, which is what Michigan is playing in this year. Yeah, I know.
Why didn't they put that? Fox annoys me sometimes. Put that game at night.
I think that the whiteout has to be in a decently like short sleeve weather. I think because last year it was in October, early October against Minnesota. The year before that, it was week 3 against Auburn, and then
buy a white coat.
I was gonna say, what about a whiteout with some snow on the field?
That would be awesome.
My biggest pet peeve in the entire sport, by the way, it's whiteout week. Why does Penn State not wear white?
And they wear navy.
Why do they wear navy?
Thank you.
It's the dumbest thing in the entire sport. They do it every single year.
All right, let's get back on track. That is why I think Ohio State should win for the better of my team's success. For my team's success, because I think Michigan handles them, so that'll put them at a loss that will not stack up very well for them, pending the success of other teams. Now, would this be good for everyone else if Ohio State were excuse me? Would this be good for everyone else if Ohio State were to lose this game, which I think will happen? Yes. It's just the ideas of all this coming to life and possibly happening is why we love the game.
Absolutely.
I'm just glad this is all in recording, so whenever we have this conversation later in the year and you try gaslighting me and telling me that you weren't on this side.
On what side?
That this is all in recording.
On what side?
I already know when Ohio State, if Ohio State would go undefeated this year and then lose to Michigan and make the playoff, you'd be like, oh no, I never said they couldn't do that. No, I just know you're going to say that.
I will be the first one to call my mistake.
Okay.
I will be the first one to call my mistake.
Okay.
Because I just think this Ohio State team is not like other teams, and I think Notre Dame handles them.
Ohio State's not tough. That's their biggest issue.
Yes.
They are mentally weak. I just don't trust a Ryan Day coach team in a road environment, in a physical game. It's going to be a physical game. And Ohio State's got bodies, but I don't think they have the mental fortitude. Think about the teams who have beaten. Ohio State doesn't lose many games. Think about the teams who have beaten them over the last couple of years. It's been Georgia and it's been Michigan.
Smash mouth football.
Exactly. It's tough offensive lines. It's great running backs. And it's hard-hitting defenses who get after the quarterback. You know what Notre Dame does? All of that in front of a raucous crowd, the green out.
Oh, I'm so excited.
That's going to be awesome. And they're wearing green, yes?
I'm going to be at this game.
And they got the wristbands.
It's going to be cool.
You're going to get a wristband.
I will get a wristband.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Why can't Notre Dame wear red? Why can't Notre Dame go red on green? That would be so
Why would Notre Dame wear red?
Colors?
Did I say Notre Dame? I meant Ohio State.
Ohio State.
Why isn't Ohio State wearing red?
Because if you're colorblind, red-green colorblindness, there was a game between the Bills and the Jets on Thursday Night Football about 7 or 8 years ago.
I remember that game.
Colorblind viewers couldn't watch it because the teams were wearing the same color to them. So that's why they can't wear red.
Remember Zay Jones scored a touchdown and he did the force?
I
remember that.
The thing that I am most concerned about, 2 things. 1 is that everyone is so convinced Notre Dame's going to win, it makes me think Notre Dame's going to lose. 2, if Notre Dame wins this game, it's going to be, Ohio State's really not that good, blah, blah, blah. It was a home game. You got them on a bad year. If Ohio State wins this game, it's going to be, Notre Dame's overrated once again.
I disagree.
Blah, blah, blah. I promise you that's how it'll be.
People who say that really aren't bought into Notre Dame yet. And I feel like people calling Notre Dame frauds for, granted, we did talk about how Ohio State's not tough. They still got places and players that can beat you where it hurts. I think Marvin Harrison
that
will
Ben Morrison Marvin Harrison matchup.
It'll be fun. I think if Marvin gets the best of, let's say Marvin receives for about 125 yards and a couple touchdowns.
There's so much talent on both sides of the ball in this game. This is going to be so cool.
You know what we should do? We're just going to...
These types of matchups are such a gift. We just don't get these often enough.
I'm going to throw up, man. I'm going to throw up.
It's an absolute gift as just a neutral observer, as a fan of the sport, to get to watch a game like this. They don't come around all too often.
Yes. And I think that... we're going to see a lot of this Notre Dame receiving core and we're going to see a lot of them in the aspect of how do they match up? How do they match up against let's be real, an A-tier defensive or an A-tier secondary? Not saying they're S-tier because they're not, but an A-tier secondary, a good secondary with good players. How are they going to match up? And I feel like if Notre Dame's receivers can't really come into their own and be reliable, maybe they could slip up in a couple games. So I just feel like there's a lot on the table here, not just for the teams, but as like the players, as we see how the players will match up and see how far they can take their teams.
I just want this game to be over with already.
We're all taking Notre Dame. We're all taking Notre Dame.
What are you taking?
I'm taking Notre Dame.
I want to abstain.
So Jhett will abstain. We're taking Notre Dame.
I will take Notre Dame, but on Ohio State side, I want to just mention Denzel Burke has quietly been one of the best corners in the entire sport all year. I think this guy's a first-round NFL talent.
Give me the Irish.
I mean,
I'm taking Notre Dame. I can't abstain. It's the biggest game of the week.
This could be a huge Sam Hartman game, too, because you know Ohio State at some point in this game is going to be stacking the box. They want to stop Estime. They want to stop the line. They want to stop that run game because that's Notre Dame's bread and butter. Can Sam Hartman beat these Ohio State defensive backs over the top? That's going to be how this game is won and lost. It's going to be a close game either way. I could see it going either way, but the Irish are going to win this one.
And I feel like
I'll make my pick.
The players that I'm talking about here with the receivers is Tobias Merriweather, Jaden Greathouse, right? Are those names? Are those names that do play for Notre Dame?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Nice
Chris Tyree, Holden Stays.
Chris Tyree.
Look, here's the thing, man. Either this coming week, someone's Heisman odds are going to go down, and by go down I mean in the good way. Either Sam Hartman or Audric Estime, because watch Estime rush 150 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he's immediately put in the Heisman conversation. Watch Sam Hartman throw for 300 yards and 5 touchdowns, and he is the front runner for Heisman.
Sure. All right. So we never even mentioned that Ohio State is opening as a 3-point favorite.
Correct. I did mention that, actually.
On the road.
Don't like
On the road.
Don't like that. Don't like that. A home dog.
Yeah.
Just giving them more motivation. Remember last year the talk about the 17-point favorite, Ohio State?
Notre Dame led this game at the half.
Notre Dame led this game with 50 seconds left in the third quarter.
That's right.
Yep.
We stacked the box, rushed when we shouldn't have, and if we had Sam Hartman last year, we go into Columbus and win that game probably by 3 touchdowns.
And I feel like this game, this home and home is kind of like the Alabama-Texas home and home, where Ohio State did indeed win the first game, but Notre Dame showed that they could hang with them, and now this is the year where they go on and win.
You guys are talking me into it, and that's what I hate, is because the more I think about it,
you think Notre Dame's going to lose this game? Or you just not want to say it?
No, I can't say. I don't want to say it. I just don't want to say that.
Okay, well, that's how I am. So I applaud you for keeping that. But do you really think they're going to lose this game?
I just don't even want to say it.
There is no chance.
I don't even want to talk about it.
I don't want to think about Ohio State winning this game because it's not going to happen.
You don't like to think about Ohio State winning in general, though.
Well, you don't know this, but
he wants them to win.
I don't want Ohio State to win.
I heard he wanted them to win. We did a whole 5 minutes on it just now.
That's right. I want them to win. I want them to win, but they will not win. They will not win. But you don't know this, but I prefer Ohio State over Michigan State. I do not like Michigan State in the slightest.
That one's personal.
Oh yeah. All right. Is that it?
That's all
That's all I've got.
Did everybody get their takes out? Anything we want to say? Any shout-outs for Harrison Mavis?
GOAT!
Go! All right. By the way, we didn't talk about this. Jim Harbaugh coming back.
Jesus.
So back.
He is so back. I feel like he went on the BTN Live the other day talking with Dave Revson and Dave Wanstadt, the double Daves, saying that Harbaugh said, the media and I have a good relationship now, and it'll be fun to see how he comes back, if there will be any early trick plays for Harbaugh just to do his Harbaughisms, maybe some more of the train, maybe not with the 4s being held up in the air, but with the train. I like that. All right, Patrick, if you want to plug yourself, now is the time to do so. Where can we find you? Where can we find your work? Let the people know.
First of all, I want to thank you two for having me on today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Had a great time.
I have as well, so thank you. But you can find me on Twitter. It's at patrickjfelts. X, I guess, is what it's called now. I'm on Instagram. It's at patrickfelts as well. In my work, it's Student Media Poll. It's Top 25. It's made by student journalists. It's a great time. Been doing it for 3 years now. And then I've got a Big Ten podcast I do as well. First and 10. The 10 is spelled like the 1G in the Big Ten logo.
Love it.
Jhett, move the camera down a little bit. You can see the sticker.
We've got my logo here.
Shoot.
First
Hold
and
on,
10.
dude. Hold on.
We're doing a full preview of... I didn't lift it up. Here. First and 10.
That's tough.
That's
got my own podcast promotion on the back of my computer.
Hey, why don't we have stickers, man?
Why don't you have stickers?
I bet if we can talk to Carlo and Austin can get us stickers and those polos.
Make yourself a sticker. Ooh, a little
Facts.
polo. I like it.
We'll figure it out.
First and 10, Thursday, we've got a full preview of Notre Dame and Ohio State, among other things. I'll be going to this game with my co-host, Reed Murray. So shout out to him. He's a Buckeye, so this is going to be a lot of fun. Definitely excited for this weekend. But if you want to hear my voice again, which if you haven't heard it enough, I can't blame you.
He said in the concourse, someone you were with saying, like, oh, if you know Patrick, you know that he loves hearing himself talk or something like that.
It's all true.
And my mic fell off the stand again. I'll fix that. Jhett.
4 times in 3 episodes, man.
He's at Jhett Garrett on Twitter.
Pat, thanks for coming on, my man. Let's go wide here. Let's go wide. We got our wide camera up here. On Twitter, on Instagram. Like the show. Subscribe to IU Sports Media on YouTube. Like, subscribe, download, add it to your Spotify library,
And with that being said, will we be able to do a Twitter space on Saturday?
Possibly. I don't know. I'll probably be in shambles.
We'll see. All right.
I'll be at insert your favorite South Bend location here.
Absolutely.
Perhaps on the field if they win.
Oh, man.
I don't know.
All right. That's going to do it for us today. We'll see you Monday. Maybe Saturday. We love college football. We love the Hoosier Network. We'll see you later.